Hi, everyone. Welcome to the IAB South Africa PwC Online Ad Spend Study Workshop. It's great to see you all coming online. So we're just going to wait and see as people start arriving, I can start doing some introductions. Right, so this is for the 2020 online ad spend study, and we're here today to help you understand how to enter, what the objectives of the survey are, and how to answer any of your questions. And it's wonderful to have this time with you and to introduce the team behind the scenes, to share our objectives, and as I said, answer your questions. And before I introduce the panel, I wanted to share just some Zoom protocol. You'll notice that your mics are off and your videos are off. That's just to help you have a better experience on the workshop today. So if we can ask for you to just keep yourselves muted unless you've got a question, and I'll chat about that right now. So if you'd like to ask a question, there are two ways that you can do that. You can either use the Zoom raise your hand icon that you should see in the bottom navigation on your screen. If you do click that, we'll see a prompt come up, and we will do our best to answer your question or to activate that while we're in the middle of that particular segment. Or you can share your question on the Zoom Q&A, and then you just load your question into the Q&A. You can either do it anonymously or not, and then we'll answer those questions in the Q&A section of the workshop. If you have any technical challenges that we can assist with, just pop that into the chat, and our team will see how they can help you to have a better workshop experience. And you can also say hi to your fellow colleagues and attendees in the chat. It's always great to see communities engaging on such important matters. So without further ado, I would like to chat about our agenda and do our introduction. So hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Paula Hulley, and I am and let me turn on my video. I'm Paula Hulley, and I'm the CEO of the IAB South Africa. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm going to introduce our panel who are here with us. We have Claudelle Naidoo. She's the Managing Director of Mediacom and Head of the IAB South Africa Research Council. Hi, Claudelle. And we've got Shaun Frazao, Head of Digital Content Wavemaker. And Shaun is also the Head of the IAB South Africa PwC Online Ad Spend Project Committee. Hi, Shaun. Thanks for being with us today. And then Phelan, who's representing the AMF board, a critical partner on this project and major inputs. Thank you so much, Karen. We have two of our partners from PwC. We have Elenor Jensen, who's a director at PwC and lead on the survey and this report. At PwC, Elenor also is the lead on the PwC Media and Entertainment report. So fantastic to have her expertise on the project. We also have Yoshika Judeo from PwC to assist. And then, as I mentioned, we have help from Danilo Acquisto, who's the CEO of Special Effects Media, who's with us today supporting a seamless experience for our panelists attendees in this workshop. So thanks, Danilo, for helping us with that. So as you can see, we've got our agenda up, a tightly packed hour. We're busy with our introductions, and then we look forward for Shaun to introduce the context of the report, as well as what's changed, and going through each of the questions there. Elenor will also be able to, from PwC, to share the context from PwC and to answer any questions on that. And then we've got, a nice sort of section at the end for Q&A. So remember, you can answer those who've just joined, you can ask your questions in the Q&A, or you can just use the raise your hand button. If you do use the raise your hand button, we will just call your name. If you can unmute, keep your video off, just unmute, and you'll ask your question live once we've called your name. So thanks for that. Before I introduce Claudelle, I just wanted to share a little bit in terms of the IAB and why we do this report with the PwC and the industry. So for those of you who know us, our major global purpose is to empower the media and marketing industries to thrive in the digital economy. We're in over 47 countries, of which most of these countries partner with the PwC on their online advertising spend reports. And we have partnered with PwC since 2012, so almost a decade of delivering the online ad spend reports in South Africa together. In terms of the IAB, I won't read this all out, but this is our scope of work in the industry. And I think just to acknowledge that we've had a very busy year in the last year from a digital universe point of view, with more than 346 million new internet users coming online globally, 2020 really opened up the digital gates, including access, interactivity, and engagement. As we know, this phenomenal growth has resulted in the equivalent of about 10 years of innovation in a mere 6 months. And even our local publishers seeing a surge in monthly traffic with News24, Fin24, The Citizen, and Business Insider showing a month-on-month increase of over more than 50% in unique browsers over the height of the lockdown as we searched for credible updates in real time online. At the same time, we know our industry has been faced with significant challenges over the past year, and we're looking ahead to face these challenges head on in terms of digital ID and the dissolving of cookies, privacy, ad fraud, and more. And so in terms of the IAB and in terms of quantifying the power of digital marketing and in terms of the spend and our industry's contribution to the greater whole, I think we can agree it has never been more relevant. All our stakeholders today who will be sharing the objectives of the ad study and taking you through how to participate, I think will speak absolutely to the need for you to participate so that we can contribute in articulating not only the overall spend of digital advertising in South Africa, but also in terms of how we contribute to South Africa as a greater whole and the insights that we derive through the report. So on that note, I'm very excited to introduce Claudelle Naidoo, who's the head of the IAB South Africa Research Council and the MD of Mediacom. Claudelle, if you can unmute your mic and share your video. Thanks, Claudelle.
Hi, thanks, Paula. Hello, good morning, everybody, and thank you for agreeing to participate in our workshop today. As Paula mentioned up front, I'm obviously leading the Research Council on behalf of the IAB South Africa. We're very excited. As you can see on your screen, we've got a diverse panel or council team in place who lead various projects from a Research Council point of view. The one project that's key on the agenda for 2021 is obviously this Adspend internet report, and we're very excited about just rolling it out effectively and giving you the relevant insights as an industry, pulling through the right type of information to share as well. We're obviously really particularly concerned and challenged by providing best-in-class digital leadership when it comes to research in the marketplace. So you're going to be see some really exciting things coming through from our council this year. We've got, as I mentioned, a diverse council, but in addition to our council members, we obviously have the survey committee. And on that survey committee, as Paula mentioned earlier, we've got Phelan from the AMF who joins us. We've got Elenor from PwC. We've got Yashika from PwC, and we've got Claire from the IAB SA Measurement Council. So it's quite a good survey and committee, and obviously coming together just to give you that level of expertise going into this year. In addition to that, on the next slide, you'll see obviously the contribution from the industry. And this is a really, really important element for us. This obviously dictates the quality of the report, the quality of the results, and we're really grateful for all these different partners just really getting on board and giving us the relevant insights and intelligence that will obviously give us the right outcome when it comes to measuring, the digital kind of investment landscape in South Africa. So we just want to say thank you to all these different partners. I'm now quickly going to hand over to Karen. We don't have much time, as Paula mentioned up front, but I am available if you do have any questions related to some of the projects that we're running, and more particularly around the Internet Ad Spend report. Thank you, Paula. Over to you, Karen.
Hi guys, hope you're all well. Yes, thank you for joining us this morning. Key to the success of the survey and the data we end up is having as many participants as what we can. The industry has for years begged for this information, but it can only really be successful if everybody partakes. If we have big gaps in the data, then obviously it's not really going to be of much significance to the industry as a whole. So I ask of you, please, to partake. Also, if you're part of an agency group, to please get all members within your group to participate. Encourage your clients to participate so that we can get as a holistic picture as what is possible. The AMF board endorses the survey. That means that if you are a member of the AMF, it's actually part of the remit to please partake in the survey. One of the key things that we did as the AMF board was to streamline the questionnaire to ensure that the information being requested falls within the remit of not being in conflict of any client contracts that you have. So the data is as there's no detail down to a client level or anything like that, to ensure that confidentiality agreements are not jeopardized in any way. In addition, PwC sends out the survey and collects the data. They are a completely independent party and ensure the confidentiality of the data. So there's nobody else within the current team working on the committee has sight to that data, only PwC. So the confidentiality of the data is guaranteed. So please, once again, I encourage you to partake, and I will now hand over to Elenor. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Karen. I think well said. Just so important to go through that very meticulously. So thanks, Karen, and to the AMF for all your support. Welcome, Elenor from the PwC. Fantastic to have you on the panel today. And yeah, handing over to you if you're happy to unmute and
yes.
your video. Thank you. Hi,
Paula. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for making the time this morning to join us. Just a little bit of background, I think, on the report, if you aren't aware. So really, the objective of this report is to effectively quantify the size of internet media revenues in South Africa. So, and to do that by actually measuring what participants in the market are spending on online advertising. So obviously there is quite a bit of research available, and PwC also actually released an entertainment and media outlook, which does quantify that, but that's not based, it's all based on statistical modelings and publicly available information, which we know in South Africa is quite limited. So we have performed this survey or analysis with the IAB in South Africa since 2012, and we've had various market participants participating. I think in the past few years, there's a real big ask from the market for more reliable information that can be used when discussing with industry participants, information that can give industry participants an idea of how the size of the internet advertising market compares to the size of the overall advertising market in South Africa. So there are some of the benefits of participating, but I think the one thing that I do want to highlight there is that this really is a survey where the success is completely dependent on the participation from the market. So the information prepared is really for the benefit of market participants. And the more information and the more accurate and the more participation we have, the better the information that you receive at the end will be. So like I think I've discussed the majority of these benefits. So Paula, you can go to the next slide for me. That's just an example of the prior year report. So in the prior year, we did 2017, 18, and 19 together, and that was also because we changed some of the survey questions. But that gives you a little bit of an idea about what information you can expect to receive back. Between PwC and the IAB, I think we would like to, in future, elaborate the granular level of detail of data that's available to put in this report. But obviously that depends on what the participants are able and willing to submit in these surveys. So you can also see who participated in the prior year in terms of the survey participants. And just to echo what Karen has said, it really, PwC We do not share any of your information with the IAB or any members of the research committee. All information is treated confidentially by our team with the same processes that we apply to what we would do for audit clients, where confidentiality is obviously key as well. So just to give you that comfort, if you do have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to have a quick call or a discussion to take you through the processes that we follow. I think it's also important to flag that this is a collaboration that is done across the world, so in various territories. The PwC and the IAB actually collaborate to present this report. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let us know. Like I said, we're happy to have a quick chat, and hopefully we can resolve any of your concerns.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Elenor. That's great. And perhaps once Shaun's also taken us through the survey now, we might be able to cover a few questions. But I think as Karen raised earlier, and also to your point, Elenor, once the survey has been shared, the data is in PwC's hands. The IAB and any of our other committee members are not involved. It is a relationship between yourself as the survey respondent and PwC. So any questions with regards to the survey is managed in that confidential relationship. So yeah, I don't think we can stress that enough, but thank you for highlighting how that happens. Great, thanks, Elenor. We look forward to the Q&A in a little bit. Yeah, thanks for turning off your mic and your video. Shaun, if you could turn on your mic and your video and take us through the survey. Thank you so much.
Cool, thanks, Paula. Hi, everyone. So when looking at the survey this year, we decided we needed to make a couple of changes. And that was mostly driven by three key factors. So firstly, some of the feedback we got from last year's survey around what people in the industry want to see differently on the survey. The second thing is trying to find that balance between where we can get more granular without necessarily making the survey more tedious. And lastly, considering the changes is not be too drastic in changes that we can't still benchmark and trend against prior year's data. So with that in mind, these are pretty much the main changes that we've made on the survey. I mean, I'll highlight a couple of them as well as we go through the survey. So the first thing is we've done away with the desktop and mobile split when it comes to Adspend. So you would have seen in last year's survey, we requested a split between desktop spend and mobile spend across all of the categories. Considering that maybe with the exception of some direct buys, generally in the industry, we don't really differentiate our spend on that way. We decided that it is a bit of a tedious exercise that we might not get so much value from, so we've done away with that split. The second one is we've done away with gross spend as well, and we're going to only focus on net spend in the survey. We also considered a more granular view on programmatic spend, and I mean that is like a hole which we can spiral into forever and ever. But we've taken a specific view on which level of granularity we want, starting with programmatic display specifically, and I'll talk to that throughout the survey as we get there. We've also recognized that most agencies do buy Facebook and Instagram as a consolidated line item. So we're not requesting a split between Facebook and Instagram, but we'll focus on Facebook and Instagram as a line. And we've also refined questions on buying models to reflect a bit more of an accurate industry practice. And then in this year's survey, we're going to try our first attempt at getting a spend per category breakdown. So next slide, please, Paula. So going into the survey, standard introduction, just wanted to kind of reiterate here, most importantly, this is your spend for the year ending 31 December 2020. So please use that 2020 year as the parameter. Next slide, please. So question one, you'll see we start off with asking you for your total net advertising or internet advertising spend. So that would be net after volume discount, early settlement discounts, agency commission, the actual amount that gets paid in advertising spending. Quite straightforward, just that one number. And that is pretty much where physical rand value ends. Afterwards, it's literally just asking for your percentage breakdowns. So question 1B asks then for the total net percentage internet advertising spend per medium. So here you'll see is where we've tried to be a bit more granular in some instances. So paid social, we'll look at, and there's a second question where we go into more detail on social, but for now, just percentage paid social. Then programmatic display, you'll see here we've distinguished between open exchange spend, as well as programmatic guaranteed or direct buy. So that could be either if you have a programmatic guarantee deal that is done through your DSP, or if you, for example, go directly to a specific publisher and have make a direct buy of programmatic media. So it should still be programmatic. Then we have non-display programmatic. Video. So I know, and this is where I think the question for us was, do we now also within the video and audio categories go down into programmatic, non-programmatic, open exchange, etc.? We've decided for this year's survey, no. We're going to just stick to video as a line item and audio as a line item. So video, that would include YouTube, video through directly through publishers, open exchange video, etc. And similarly with audio, then paid search, and obviously we've also now included this year influencer marketing as a line item. Next slide, please. Question 2, we then ask you to break down your paid social spend in percentages. So once again, as I told you, Facebook and Instagram, we'll look at as one line item. LinkedIn, Twitter, and other, if you use Snapchat or by some miracle have managed to get access to TikTok, you can include that in there. Cool, next slide. Then paid search. So we request percentage spend through Google, and then other search spend if you do use the likes of Bing, etc. And then we also have a question here, sorry, just back to the previous slide. Just to understand what percentage of your clients will buy search advertising not through you, but kind of in-housed it. Just to kind of get an understanding of a specific trend that we've been seeing with regards to search. So just there, if you can estimate what percentage of your clients will buy search advertising directly from the source and not through an agency. Next slide, please. Then question 4, we also ask you to estimate the percentage spend of your media spend that is digital. So once again, they're quite clear just what percentage of your total media spend would be digital. Next slide. Then buying model percentages. So in question 5, we kind of want to understand percentage breakdown of how you buy. So is it performance-based? What percentage is performance-based? And so we've included metrics such as cost per click, cost per view, CPAs, cost per leads, return on ad spend. Impression-based, so cost per thousand or CPMs, or if it's fixed cost per unit, or a fixed cost that you might buy directly, and rolling that up into 100%. Next. Then question 6, just here, feel free if you have any questions and comments that you want to leave on question 6, this is where you can do it. Next slide, please. Then question 7 is, as I mentioned, our first attempt at trying to get a bit of a granular view into category spend. So we've identified the following categories, and what we do ask you is just a rough split of your spend per category. And I do just want to reiterate here, it's once again only data that sits with the PwC, nothing that we will see from our side on the IAB that would be relevant to an agency specifically. But yeah, we do recognize that some of the feedback that we have received from previous surveys is, can we try and get a bit of a category breakdown? So we've included the following categories, and I mean, it looks a lot, but I mean, there's a million more categories, so we've kept it to these. So alcoholic drinks, apparel and footwear, appliances, automotive, B2B, beauty and personal care, electronics, finance, FMCG, food service, gaming, health and wellness, home care, luxury goods, media and entertainment, pet care, retail, toys, and travel and hospitality. Next slide, please. Right, and then it's just the company data verification section. So just verifying who completed this, the email address and the date. Next slide. And then also information for record purposes, just to make, kind of helps us from an IAB point of view as well to keep our databases updated. So name of the CEO, head of digital, who is the person responsible in your agency or your organization for the survey, as well as who else would need to be included in this type of communication regarding to the survey. Next slide. And then lastly is the feedback section. So if you want to tell us if you think in future we need to do this, was it easy to complete? What else would you like to see in the survey? Because as I said, as we go forward with this, we do change and evolve the survey based on the feedback that we do get from the respondents. And that is it from my side. Paula, back to you.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Shaun. I think that was very thorough and super to go through each section. I don't know if any of the panel would like to comment on any of the questions or add any information. Otherwise, we'll move on to the timeline and then into any questions. But otherwise, we can wrap up early and people can get on with their day. Yeah, any comments from the panel? You're more than welcome to just unmute and share those. Okay, perfect. I think, Shaun, you were so thorough. I think we're all good there. As Elenor mentioned, if you have any questions on the survey, well, first of all, if you'd like to participate, you can email myself or Elenor as per our communication shared, and the PwC will send you that survey document in Excel directly. And then any questions on that survey, you can ask, as Elenor said, directly to PwC in terms of quantifying and ensuring that the information is confidential. So just in terms of our overall timeline, we started sharing the survey in terms of participants who've opted in from Monday. The workshop, of course, you're here today, so that's today to find out a bit more about any updates and to share questions and answers. Our deadline for submissions this year is 17th of March. You'll notice that is a month out from last year for those who did participate last year. The reason for that was insight based on feedback in the feedback section last year, as well as from PwC, that to get participants to get the complete answers by the end of Feb was a bit of an unfair ask, as it is also the date for most companies' year end, and we want to give you enough time and space to complete that before embarking on this short exercise. So yeah, that's the difference between the timelines from last year based on that feedback from the industry. So hopefully that's helpful. So yeah, sort of next 2.5 weeks in terms of completing the survey, remembering that if you did complete the survey last year, you would have completed it for 3 years, whereas this year, as Shaun mentioned, it's for the 1 Jan to end December 2020 period. So we're just completing for 1 year. And then in terms of next steps, PwC obviously they have taken over from the moment you choose to opt in. And in terms of the PwC timeline, they'd spend the sort of last half of March aggregating the data, giving an overall aggregated view. By the 25th of March. So we get to see the IAB, just the exec get to see a very high level overview of the aggregated data, just in terms of some key data points. Obviously, it's all aggregated, agnostic, no company views. And then the insight development starts with the PwC partners, and completed by the 9th of April. Then PwC complete the design of the report by the 15th of April. All stakeholders at IAB and across the parties that we've mentioned would sign off the report by the 16th and ready to distribute by the end of April. And just a quick note that we are holding our digital paid media search, display and social IAB Insight webinar on the 20th of May. And the highlights from the report will be presented to the industry, there. But of course, the full report is only available to IAB members and to participants in the workshop. So you don't need to be an IAB member to participate in the workshop. And if you are a participant, you'll be shared, obviously, the complete report. But we do like to provide the industry with the overall insights, because we'd like everybody to understand how to buy data and how to buy digital and where the key insights lie. But the full report is an IAB member benefit. So just wanted to round off with that. So without further ado, I don't know if there are any questions. We haven't seen any come through. I think Elenor, Karen, Claudelle, and Shaun have been very thorough. So this is not the only opportunity to ask questions. Of course, as Elenor mentioned, you can share those directly. So if anyone doesn't have anything further, let's just check here. Tatiana, I see you're writing. I don't know if you have a question. If you'd like to unmute and just ask that, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm not very familiar with Zoom, so I was like, where's the unmute button?
Thanks, Tatiana.
I wanted to find out, from an offline media perspective, we obviously report on spend using Nielsen. I think it's called AdWizard now. Is there ever going to be a time where we see that level of data from a digital perspective, just so that when we review our media spend, and see, I suppose, a consolidated, holistic, end-to-end view of our shape of spend?
Thanks, Tatiana. I think that the answer to that is probably three-part. In my mind, the one part potentially, Elenor, I'm not sure if you can comment on your work or PwC's work with other countries where they have managed an aggregated view across channels. I think the second part would be in terms of measurement. So IAB measurement, the Measurement Council is currently looking at that in terms of a measurement point of view, not just in terms of ad spend, but across, attribution, across channels. So if IAB's measurement partner, which is currently narrative, a measurement currency partner is currently narrative, how do we integrate that data with Talma, for example, or in Project Fusion with the PRC and the BRC as an aggregated view to audience data. And then the third part, I suppose, is just the practicality of it. And in terms of our journey to date, even in getting the ad spend view for digital alone or online advertising spend, already a tough ask to the industry to complete that. But absolutely, I think that would be the holy grail. Elenor, I don't know if you'd like to comment on that or if you're able to comment.
No, there's not much I can add, Paula. I think maybe just to clarify that PwC work with the IAB really on request of the IAB globally, because I think the IAB identified, and not just in South Africa, but there's a need for survey-based data, that is really accurate and reflective of actual participants in the market. So currently PwC wouldn't have any intention to further that survey to other media streams.
Thanks, Elenor. Yeah, so I think, Tatiana, we're absolutely starting, I think, with measurement currency, I think is our objective. We'd love to make sure that we can get a wider participation involvement in terms of the digital online spend. And I think the objective is to look at an aggregated view. We do refer to an overall spend, as you'll see in the 2019 report. So you'll see like a general indication of how digital fits into the overall spend. So I think that's sort of where we get to on that answer today. I don't know if that helps understand the landscape, Tatiana. I don't know. I'm just going to unmute.
Thank you so much. Yes, it does. It does make
Okay.
sense. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I've seen a question come through on our chat from Susie White at the Daily Maverick. Hi, Susie. No, you're correct. We have not spoken to sort of publisher participation and how publishers participate in the survey. Elenor, I'm not sure I can share just a quick context on that, and then how that worked in the previous survey. From what I understand, Elenor, pre-2017, pre the last survey, and in other countries, the IAB does work with the publisher data in terms of ascertaining the overall percentage splits of spend. I think in South Africa, and we've spoken to IAB UK and IAB Global in terms of how that works. But we have quite a unique situation in terms of, I think online spend is at about 20% to local publishers and wanting to get the broader view of the spend investment. But saying that, last year we did have publishers participate, the likes of Gumtree24.com, because they have their own advertising buying units within the business. So like a Space Station, for example, at 24, where they participate in terms of aggregated spend. And I think with a likes of a MultiChoice, ETV, SABC being very large spenders in market in terms of advertising, we'd absolutely love to have that buying data recognized and incorporated into the survey. Elenor, if you can maybe comment there. I see you.
Yeah, so our the first 2 to 3 years that we did the survey, we actually surveyed both publishers and agencies. And then we saw that there was a massive gap between the revenues that are reported by the publishers and what are reported by the agencies. So globally, the survey is publisher-based and not agency-based. And obviously the risk is that you can't combine these two. So globally they use a publisher-based survey and sense check that to agency data. And I suppose we do it the other way around, because you can't survey both, because then you would run into the risk of double counting revenues that where agencies have actually bought those revenue or bought that media from a publisher. I don't know if that answers your question. I don't see any chats. Yes, thanks. Okay, perfect.
Brilliant. Elenor, maybe just as we speak about ensuring that there's no double counting on data, we do open the survey up obviously to brands, publishers and agencies in terms of their spend. I know last year we worked with a few agencies and brands who were both sharing their data. And obviously you worked closely with them to ensure that we weren't obviously double. So an agency might be submitting their data spend for their full portfolio, and then we're extracting one of the clients, or they're participating on behalf of their client, I think is the route we went, I think with ABSA and Dentsu, for example, last year.
Yes, %. Yeah, so that's something that we have to consider carefully, because otherwise, like we said, you will end up overstating the revenues.
Absolutely. I think another question we've been asked before, but I don't see it here, but I thought let's just cover it because it might come up at another time. In terms of the global reports, and Elenor, I think maybe you can build on this. In the global reports, for example, IAB UK, they are also able to derive data from sort of public spends. So Google has to report their spend publicly, whereas South Africa is a smaller market and we don't have access to that kind of public data. So this again is, and to Karen Phelan's point, in terms of the AMF and Claudelle and yourself, Elenor, why the call to action in terms of our agencies and brands and publishers participating directly with PwC on this project is so critical, because that is our only access to the data and the insights. We are not able to obtain it from public documentation. Elenor, is that still correct?
Yes, Paula, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Right, well, I don't think we have any more questions. Let me have a look at the time. We're 40 minutes in, so 20 minutes back to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today, and to our panelists, to Claudelle for leading the council, to Shaun for leading the task team and the committee on ad spend. Karen, thank you for all your help with the AMF, and to the PwC team, thank you as always for being our trusted partner. And to all our participants, just a huge thank you. If you'd like to find out on how you can participate, you can email me. It's Paula, Paula @iabsa.net, or you can have a look at our website under IAB News. You'll see access to that there, or under IAB Research. Yeah, we hope to see you in the report. The more participants we have, the better the data. So thank you so much, and look forward to releasing the report at the end of April. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Paula. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.